Another day and more disappointment for silver stackers, but do not lose hope yet, because silver still is hanging on just barely to support. I'll explain what happened today with silver's price and why, in part, it doesn't make sense. Let's discuss as we explore. Indeed, the markets are down a bit today. Silver's price did not plunge, but did get hit much harder than gold today. There's a lot going on that affects the markets, why it's so hard to predict what's happening. It can come from many different fronts. In fact, I remember one time when silver fell or rose because of what happened in the Japanese bond market. It's kind of crazy. Who would have thought? That kind of came out of left field. Nonetheless, whenever there's dips in the market, well, that's probably the best time to buy precious metals, take advantage of those dips. And channel sponsor Summit Metals has silver, and you can still get silver at spot if you're a new customer over at Summit Metals. They have competitive prices, but even more importantly than that, they have great service. So check them out at summitmetals.com, probably the fastest growing bullion dealer out there right now. Now, what's happening in the market right now is pretty interesting. There has been a Fed meeting, and the minutes indeed are making waves across the markets. Reuters is reporting here that gold prices have steadied on Wednesday as investors assessed the U.S. Federal Reserve's May meeting minutes, which flagged rising inflation and recession risk, reinforcing gold's appeal as a safe haven asset at a time when the global economic environment remains volatile. But what about silver? Why isn't it seen as a reinforcing as a safe haven? Well, gold is trading as a safe haven. Silver is trading as a commodity today. Indeed, that's exactly what's happening here. I'm going to get into a little bit of that in a moment. I'm also going to show you later in the video a new piece of silver that I got. And when I got it, I bought it based off of faith. I did not trust and verify. So we're going to check and see if it is genuine later in the video. So stay tuned for that. So what's happening here? Well, again, there's a lot of different factors that come into play. But before we get into more of this, let's look at the markets right before they close. They are indeed down. Gold is down $5.60 right now to $3,296.40, only down 0.17%. Silver was down almost a full percentage point today, but it is now down just 0.89%, which is still the biggest, one of the bigger drops of the day. And that's down 29 cents to $33.05. In fact, it is below that critical support of $33 in the bid price at $32.93. In fact, it got down as low as $32.88, coming off of a high of $33.54 today. So silver moved fairly dramatically today, but as we head into the close of the session, it is not down in a dramatic flare, but it is losing its support right now. That support is $33. We're getting to the point where we may break on through that. Any day that we can see silver stay above $33, especially in the bid price, is a day to celebrate, I think. Even if silver remains stagnant at that level for a while, I think that's good news. It's nice to see silver solidify itself. But right now, that is under a great threat. And there's a couple of reasons why. Really, the calculus has not changed for the Federal Reserve as what they're going to do, but it's what they mentioned in this meeting minutes. The gold market has been kind of choppy recently, just reacting to fresh daily fundamental news events with no real trending price action, according to Jim Wyckoff over at Kitco Metals. Now, Fed officials at their May 6th and 7th meeting acknowledged possible difficult trade-offs ahead with rising inflation and unemployment, and warned about growing recession risk, according to the minutes at that meeting. I didn't read those, but my guesses are probably talking about tariffs and conflating that with inflation. They're two separate animals, and really they should be condemned for making that comparison because it is an illogical and untrue comparison. The two are wholly unrelated, as I talked about in previous videos. This meeting took place amid heightened concerns over global trade tensions following U.S. President Donald Trump's early April announcement of major import tariffs. Some of the most aggressive levies, however, were eased or delayed a week later. And now we have more delays, but more tough talk and more craziness out there. But that's part of the negotiating tactics that Donald Trump uses. And he's fully willing to implement much of those, except for obviously the 145% tariffs from China. We knew that both sides would come back to the table on that. But it just goes to show that he's willing to go wild on them and go there. Yes, indeed. And probably even willing to put up with it if it meant to, bring a lot of that domestic or that production back to the United States, which is what he would prefer. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the motivating factors for this tough trade talk. And gold, which performs well in a low interest rate environment and serves as a safe haven during times of uncertainty, has gained 26% so far this year and hit a record high in April, about $3,500 an ounce. And Goldman Sachs recommended on Wednesday a higher than usual allocation to gold in long-term portfolios, citing elevated risk to the U.S. institutional credibility, pressure on the Fed, and sustained central bank demand. In fact, Moody's has downgraded the United States from AAA to AA1, I think for the first time. We talked about that before. It did move the markets briefly, but we're over that now. It's really no surprise, as the other institutions, Fitch and S&P, Standard & Poor's, had already downgraded the United States credit rating. So that's really no big deal at this point in time. There's really no different than what we're at. Now, looking at the Fed Watch tool, we can see that where the majority that have polled about this believe that for the June meeting, which is where they're going to make decisions about where interest rates are going to go, they believe that it is going to stay right where it is at 425 to 450. And that typically would not be good for gold and silver's price. No, it would not. Usually, the gold and silver react positively under a lower rate environment. Mortgage interest rates have gone up a couple of tenths of a percentage point. And so there is and bond yields, obviously, other things or factors are here that are coming into play. And when we're paying interest on the debt that equals or very close to the national defense budget, we're in real trouble, folks. Something's got to give somewhere. And so it is a fine line. We're going to see how this plays out, but it's interesting here. Focus is also coming on tomorrow's GDP data, Friday's personal consumption expenditure numbers, and comments from the U.S. Central Bank officials. Gold imports to Switzerland from the United States jumped in April to the highest monthly levels since at least 2012 after the execution of precious metals from U.S. import tariffs. So that's going back in the other direction. There goes that narrative about them taking all this gold for a revaluation. It just wasn't and is not going to happen there. So that's where that is. Fascinating indeed. So, there is something that could be happening that could happen with some big moves. Another article here from Kitco about what's going on with the technicals with silver, crashing a wedge pattern using technical analysis. And with silver, often drives sentiment to red-hot levels, especially in the case of individual investors. Silver price broke below its rising support line based on the April and May lows, and it looks like it could break out, like the breakout will hold this time. It was barely hanging out above $33 an ounce. So we'll see there. By the way, when we look at what's happening here, it's important to understand that a lot of it also has to do with what the dollar does. But all the drivers that affect gold and silver first affect the dollar, and then silver and gold react from that. But they're all kind of related for the most part. There are times when they trade in opposite directions, but the dollar, to no surprise, is up 0.35%, still below 100. It is at 98 or 99.88 right now. Notwithstanding, inflation is still here. Even if it goes right back to the target of 2%, it's there. And it's a loss of value, and it's still inflation. All right, so what did I get? The local coin shop. Yes. As a tribute to that, a half ouncer, I got the 1 ounce bar of the Aztec. Very nice. One of the most beautiful designs. I think the Golden State Mint makes these. But the one thing that is raising a red flag here is it genuine? Because usually when they come in these kind of capsules, usually that means they're fake. Typically, this is not naturally how it comes, but this is how I got it from my local coin shop, and we are going to test it to see if it is indeed genuine. All right, so let's get the CCT slide out first. I always like to do the slide test, and the Cyber Curtain Twitcher slide is a great way to do it. Contact him if you want to get one of these handcrafted in the United Kingdom. So we take it down the slide, and of course it's still in this thing. I'm going to take it out of the capsule here. There it is. It looks to be genuine, but you never know. Nice slow slide. Say that 5 times fast. A nice slow slide. That tells me it's genuine. But the other thing too, there's another test you can do, and that is the coin ping test. And this is really, really cool. You can get one of these things here. It is very, very nice. This is the this thing is very cool. A link to it is in the description of this video. Check it out, and you can just ping it. You can put it right in here. It does not, because it has these rubberized things. You can place it without any damage to it, and then you can use the stack stick here, which you can also buy there, and you can tap it, and let's see what kind of sound comes out of it. Unmistakable, unmatched sound. Beautiful. So that tells us that it is indeed the genuine thing. The pocket pinger, really, really cool device. I hope you will check that out. With that being said, there's your market report for today. Fascinating indeed. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.